You've been promised $1,900 monthly from Social Security, and the 2033 shortfall hopes you don't notice. Your check doesn't get cancelled, it gets shaved by roughly 23% automatically, baked directly into existing law. Where does that missing check actually go? Nowhere. It never gets sent. The reason is stranger than headlines suggest. Here's the thing. Every few years, a headline screams that Social Security is going bankrupt, and everyone panics again. Politicians on one side say the program is doomed. The other side says relax, and somehow both are wrong. Let me explain. Social Security isn't a company. It can't file for bankruptcy. It can't shut its doors, ever. It runs on two pipes, not one. The first is payroll tax from every working person's paycheck right now. The second pipe is the trust fund, a giant savings account built when more came in than went out. Most people picture Social Security as one big vault. It isn't.
It's a river feeding a slowly draining reservoir. The river never stops flowing. The reservoir, though, is draining fast, and that's the exact part headlines completely butcher. The program can't vanish. As long as anyone works in America paying payroll tax, checks keep going out reliably. The real question isn't whether Social Security disappears, it's how much of your check arrives when the reservoir empties. Trustees quietly publish that number. Want smarter money moves? Subscribe to Andy Explains Money. Next video breaks it down. Here's the number trustees quietly published. The trust fund runs dry around 2033, just 8 years away. Some estimates push it earlier, others later, but the middle of the fairway sits squarely at 2033. When that reservoir hits zero, the river keeps flowing. Payroll taxes keep coming in from every American worker. But those taxes only cover about 77% of the benefits that have already been promised to retirees. So the checks automatically shrink down to what incoming money can pay for. That's a 23% cut. For the average retiree pulling $1,900 monthly, that's roughly $437 gone every month. 12 months a year, not a temporary dip, but a permanent reset unless Congress actually steps in soon. Here's where people get confused. They ask, why can't Congress just print the difference or cover the gap? The answer is buried in the original 1935 law that structured Social Security as an earned benefit. It's funded by dedicated taxes and cannot legally spend more than it takes in, plus the trust fund. Once the fund is empty, the automatic cut isn't a choice. It's a legal trigger that just fires.
It happens whether anyone in Washington acts or not. That's what makes 2033 genuinely different here. There's no cliffhanger vote, no last-minute deal, no dramatic negotiation. The math simply executes itself, quietly and automatically. But whose check gets hit hardest, and why? Let's break it down, because the answer surprises most people.
Payroll tax funds about 77% of promised benefits. The other 23% comes from the trust fund reservoir. Why the gap? Demographics. When Social Security launched, 40 workers paid in for every one retiree collecting benefits. Today, that ratio is closer to 2.5 workers per retiree, and it's still shrinking every year. Boomers are retiring in enormous waves. Birth rates are lower. Immigration has slowed. People simply live much longer now. Every one of those trends pushes more money out and pulls less money in. Now layer COLA on top. Every year, Social Security bumps benefits up to match inflation. That's called COLA. But here's the trap most miss. If your baseline check gets cut by 23% first, every future COLA is calculated off that smaller number. The cut compounds. 10 years later, you're not just 23% behind. You're behind on a shrinking check. And it's not just retirees. Social Security pays disability benefits and survivor benefits for families of workers who died. Money for widows and children flows through the same pipe. When it shrinks, every one of those checks shrinks. A single mother collecting survivor benefits sees the same 23% bite as a wealthy retiree lounging in Florida. The hidden cost of doing nothing is that the pain gets distributed by accident, not by careful, deliberate design. People who can least afford a cut take the same hit as everyone else. That's the cruelty of inaction. And the longer Congress waits, the harder the fix becomes, because the trust fund keeps draining every single month. If you want to understand how money really works, subscribe to Andy Explains Money for smarter money moves ahead. Here's the twist nobody in Washington highlights. The real risk to your retirement isn't that 23% cut. The real risk is the fix.
Every proposed solution quietly moves the pain to a different group. Maybe you. Let me walk you through the 4 fixes on the table. Each one sounds reasonable, but hides a real cost. Fix 1. Raise the full retirement age. Right now, it's 67 for anyone born after 1960. Push that to 68 or 69 and the system saves money. Sounds fair, right? People live longer, work longer. This is really a stealth benefit cut. Planning to claim at 67, you'd now suddenly wait until 69. You'd lose 2 full years of checks, roughly $45,000 gone, quietly, without using the word cut. Fix 2. Remove the payroll tax cap. Today, you only pay Social Security tax on your first $168,000. Lift the cap, and high earners suddenly pay tax on every dollar. This raises a lot of revenue fast. It fundamentally changes what Social Security is. No longer a program where what you pay matches what you get. It becomes closer to a straight transfer. Not wrong, but a very different animal from what people were sold. Fix number 3, means testing. If you have enough retirement savings, your Social Security check gets reduced or eliminated.
Sounds fair on the surface, but think what it teaches. It punishes the saver and rewards the spender. If you spend 40 years stuffing money into a 401k, you'd be the one actually losing your check. The person who spent every paycheck keeps theirs. That's a strange message for a country telling people to save. Fix number 4. A quiet bump to the payroll tax itself, from 6.2% to 7%. That's on the employee side. Real money leaving every working person's check every 2 weeks for their whole career. Notice the pattern? Every fix redistributes the pain. Nobody escapes. The only question is which door it comes through. Later retirement, higher taxes, capped benefits, or a smaller check. Washington postpones because none of these are politically fun, which means the automatic cut gets closer every year. So what does this actually cost you over 20 years? Let's do the math. Say you're expecting that $1,900 monthly check to start at age 67. Without any adjustment, you'd pull in about $22,800 a year before any cost of living raises. Over 20 years of retirement, that's roughly $456,000 flowing into your household. Now apply the 23% cut. Your monthly check drops to about $1,463 instead. Annual income falls to roughly $17,550, a real dent in your budget. Over the same 20 years, you collect around $351,000 total from Social Security. That's a shortfall of about $105,000 per person. If you're married, double it. That's the compounding gap between the promise and the payout. And here's where most people split into 3 archetypes. The ostrich buries their head. They've heard about the shortfall.
They assume Congress will fix it entirely. They plan retirement using the full 100% number, then wake up in 2033 broken. The panicker overreacts. They assume Social Security will vanish entirely and discount the whole program to 0. This makes them oversave, work too long, or take excessive investment risk trying to fill an exaggerated gap. The planner does the middle thing. They model their benefit at 77%, not the full 100. They quietly close the gap over 8 years using their own accounts. No panic, no denial, just math. The trap is waiting until 2032 to start planning. By then, it's already far too late. 8 years of compounding makes the fix cheap. 1 year barely moves the needle. Math rewards today's starters. Which brings us to the number that should truly scare you most. Here's the honest truth about wealth.
There's a real difference between actual wealth and merely looking wealthy in retirement, especially when Social Security enters. The 23% gap sounds abstract until you translate it into real dollars sitting on your kitchen counter. That's roughly $437 a month gone for the average American retiree living today. $437 is a car payment, or full monthly groceries, or the utility bill plus internet. It's not pocket change. On a fixed income, it's the difference between comfortable retirement and constant financial stress. The median American retiree relies on Social Security for about half of their total retirement income. Half. Not a supplement, not a bonus. Half. 1 in 3 retirees rely on it for 90% of income. For that group, a 23% cut isn't uncomfortable, it's catastrophic, the difference between paying rent and not. Here's the counter thesis nobody says out loud. Social Security was never designed as a full retirement plan. It was designed as a floor, a safety net so nobody who worked their life ends up starving. Somewhere along the way, that floor quietly became the entire house for a lot of American families. When the floor drops 23%, the whole house shifts. Most people treat it like a load-bearing wall. It isn't a wall, it's a floor, and the floor is quietly getting lower every single year. Here's a framework the average investor never uses. 5 simple steps, nothing fancy, just smarter money moves. Just the moves the planner archetype makes while the ostrich naps and the panicker sweats about tomorrow. Step 1. Model your benefit at 77%, not 100. This is your realistic planning number. Go to the Social Security website, pull your estimated benefit, and multiply it by 0.77. If the shortfall gets fixed, you get a pleasant surprise. If it doesn't, you're not caught off guard. Planning for the worst number and being wrong is called a bonus. Planning for the better, a crisis. Step 2. Close the gap with tax-advantaged accounts. If your Social Security falls $400 short each month, that's roughly $100,000 of extra retirement savings using a rough 4% safe withdrawal rate.
Split across 8 years, that's around $12,500 a year, ideally inside a 401k with employer match, or a Roth IRA if you qualify. The wrapper makes the math easier, and the match is genuinely free money. Most people leave both on the table. Step 3. Delay claiming strategically, because this one is deeply misunderstood. Every year you delay claiming Social Security past 62, your benefit quietly grows a little larger. Between 67 and 70, it grows by about 8% a year, a guaranteed raise just for waiting patiently. But delaying isn't automatically the right move for everyone. Health, income, and cash flow all change the answer.
If your health is poor or you have no other income to bridge the gap, claiming earlier can be smarter. The point is to decide with math, not with vibes. Most people claim at 62 out of pure habit. Habit or fear isn't a plan, that's just a reflex. Step 4. Build a non-Social Security income floor beneath you. You want a source of monthly income in retirement that doesn't quietly depend on decisions made by Congress. Rental income, dividend income, part-time work you actually enjoy, a small pension, an annuity if the numbers truly work. The goal here isn't to get rich, the goal is to build a second floor underneath the first floor. So if Social Security ever drops 23%, your actual daily life doesn't have to drop right along with it. Step 5. Revisit every legislative update. When Congress finally acts, and they will, eventually, the rules will change. The retirement age might shift, the tax cap might move, means testing might arrive one day soon. Your plan needs to be a living document, not a one-time calculation. 15 minutes a year is enough. That's the framework. 5 steps, nothing complicated. But almost nobody does it because nobody wants to. Here's the thing. One more thing most people completely miss about this whole retirement picture. Here's a curveball. Social Security isn't the only program with a 20-30-something cliff.
Medicare's Hospital Insurance Trust Fund is projected to hit a similar wall in the early 2030s. Different fund, different rules, similar problem. Fewer workers paying in, more retirees drawing out. And here's why this matters together. Healthcare costs in retirement are the single biggest wild card in your budget. A typical couple retiring today can expect to spend north of $300,000 on healthcare. That's over the rest of their lives, and that's before any Medicare shortfall kicks in. If Social Security shrinks 23% and Medicare gets squeezed at the same time, watch out. The double hit is what really breaks retirement plans. You can't plan one without the other. Any cost of living raise you get from Social Security tends to get eaten by healthcare inflation fast. It gets eaten before it ever hits your grocery bill, your gas tank, or your rent. That's the hidden squeeze most retirees describe, feeling poorer every year even when the check technically went up. We'll do a full breakdown of the Medicare 2030s cliff in the next video. It's the twin problem. Ignore one and you underestimate both. Before you go, here's one smarter money move worth remembering today. Here's the whole thing in one line. Plan for 77%, not 100%, of your benefit. Assume the automatic cut happens. Build your retirement math around the smaller number, not the promised one. If Congress fixes it, you're ahead. If they don't, you're not surprised. That's it. That's the move. Not panic, not denial. Just honest math, done 8 years early instead of 8 years too late. Want smarter money moves? The kind most people never bother with? Subscribe to Andy Explains Money. See you there. Next up, the Medicare 2030s cliff and why it may hit retirement